There's the boys. There the boys are. Yes, it looks like Roosevelt and Lincoln are kissing from this angle. As I travel across the United States learning about American history and gauging the pulse of the American public, you know that I had to come to one of the most important historical landmarks of the entire country. One big-ass rock with 4 dudes carved into the side of it. A lot of people say that Mount Rushmore is kind of underwhelming, like all of the faces in the rock are pretty small. But as every single one of my ex-girlfriends say, it's big enough. It gets the job done. The presidents that are carved into the side of the mountain represent 4 historical aspects of the United States. George Washington represents the founding, Thomas Jefferson represents the growth, Theodore Roosevelt represents the development and the stylish glasses mustache combination, and Abraham Lincoln represents the preservation. Overall, we got 4 very important boys carved up on the side of this mountain that really made the United States what it is today. Mount Rushmore is actually named after Charles Rushmore, who's an attorney from New York, and he was climbing around this area and he had a guide, and he asked the guide what that mountain was called, and the guide said, I don't know, it doesn't really have a name. And he was like, sweet. And so he just named it after himself, which is crazy. This mountain and the surrounding area of the Black Hills are sacred to the Lakota Sioux. The Lakota actually called this mountain the 6th grandfathers to signify all the different directions, north, east, south, west, up, and down. In the latter half of the 19th century, the U.S. government actually began expanding into this area, which led to the Sioux Wars, which resulted in the 1868 Treaty of Laramie, which granted the Lakota Sioux tribe complete access to this area in perpetuity, forever. And the United States government and the Lakota Sioux tribe lived happily ever after, together forever. Just kidding. In 1873, George Custer climbed Black Elk Peak, which led to the Black Hills Gold Rush, which led to the United States government breaking the Treaty of Laramie in 1877 and pushing out all of the Native Americans. So that kind of sucks. I think it would be sick if they had like a QR code carved into the side of the mountain for like a half-off Whopper deal at participating Burger King locations. That would be like the most American addition to all of this. Anyway, I'm here to learn about American history and ask people what they think about the American dream. And I'm all out of American history. What does the American dream mean to you?
The American dream means to me to have the opportunity to do whatever you want and to be able to express yourself in any way that you feel is right and represents you.
It means that you're free, that you can make a lot of decisions on your own. If you can work hard enough, you can do anything you want.
It means freedom, where we can just have our say, where we can achieve what you want financially, spiritually, mostly spiritually too, because you don't have that in them other countries. And that's all I know about, is what America offers. And I love it here, so.
The American dream, to me, in a nutshell, would be maybe equality of opportunity to be who you want to be, to express yourself.
American dream, to me, is the opportunity to become and accomplish anything you set your mind to. I think that together in this country, that most of the people genuinely want the best for their families, genuinely want the best for their country, their people. And I think that when we are united like that, together in a common cause, I think there isn't really anything we can't accomplish.
Do you think the American dream has worked for you?
It has. I had a rough upbringing, broken family, no opportunities, didn't go through schooling. 6th grade was my only school that I went through. Ended up owning my own company. Was real successful. Just retired. I got 7 grandkids. Come from a despair, right? No, nothing. And couldn't have done that in any other country, I don't think.
In some ways, it has benefited me. I'm a first-gen daughter of immigrants, and I definitely think my parents were able to benefit from that dream. And as a result, I've been able to benefit from that dream. So I would say in a nutshell, yes, but I don't think that it's working for everybody anymore.
Well, I started out with nothing and living in my car, and I before I retired, I had up to 4 car electronics stores in 4 different towns. So I could have done a lot worse. I used to have to hoe and chase hogs and do all that kind of stuff. We don't have to do that anymore. Air conditioned, color TV, that's the way to go.
Yeah, and that's a successful business, I'm assuming.
That's all that matters, and we made it.
Yeah, I think how blessed I am. I think America also allows, from an economic standpoint, being an economics professor, it allows us to take a risk, use our skills, and for the most part, keep what we've created.
What is the biggest threat to America or democracy right now?
The challenges in communication and like people being siloed in a way where people don't interact with people who might have different views than them in a physical sense. I think sometimes I see people are just becoming very divided, and there's a lack of opportunities to just have discourse, I think, around certain ideas.
It's liberalism. I believe it's communism. We wouldn't even be able to say communism when I was growing up, or you would be labeled radical. You wouldn't even be able to survive in the political world saying communism. Now it's kind of the left's way of thinking, right? Even outwardly. And I think the other thing is the open borders is going to destroy our sovereignty, and I'm against all that.
I think the biggest threat to America and democracy is dividing each other based on opinions. I think with social media especially, it divides us more and more every single day, depending on which opinion you might be seeing or coming from. And I think that understanding that opinions are different, but people come from the same place, and that everybody is here to be an American, fulfill their American dream. So I think understanding that is important in coming back together. But I think division of the political parties especially is where the danger comes in.
What do they call it? Apathy? People are soft. They don't take any pride in our country. They're teaching that we were bad guys. Yes, we were, but everybody's a bad guy sometime. The people that were here originally deserve a lot of stuff, but they took from other people, and we took from them. And other people are trying to take from us. And if we don't defend it, we will be taken.
So you would argue that human nature is rather self-centered?
Self-preservation.
Yeah, self-preservation.
That's exactly what it is. That's why you work and I work, and we try to be nice. But when it comes down to you or me, I mean, for real, most of the time you're going to pick you and I'm going to pick me.
I would say maybe there's like a higher level of mistrust in institutions and like your neighbors and your community and people with opposite political views. So I think there's like a sort of decaying civic fabric maybe. Also post-truth I think is like a big challenge, or like just any sort of like the lack of distinction between like truth, reality, fact, and fiction or conspiracy and lies, I think is also another huge threat to the fabric of this country. So
there's a lot of political division within the United States.
Oh boy.
Do you think it's possible for opposing political sides to find any sort of common ground?
I do think so, but I also think that, man, we are so divided. I've never seen it like that. In my history, I'm 64. I mean, you hear about it, the Revolution War, I hope it don't go to that, but man, they are extreme people here, extreme viewpoints, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of accentuating the positive and not the negative, and I think that's scriptural, it's spiritual. The idea of whatever is good and pure and right, you think about those things and you try to find the positive in anything and try to find the common ground rather than always seeking the negative.
I don't. And I'll say why I don't. I think that we're seeing a situation where we're going to have to go full circle. Because, and I said this to my wife, I could see it coming to the time where the left won't be ruled by the right any longer. And we're seeing that happen now where they refuse. They'll go to any lengths, and we're seeing that, to keep from having the right, or what they consider the right, to rule over them. So I think this year is going to be probably one of the hardest years we've ever faced as Americans. I think we're going to see some very, very bad stuff. in the future. So I don't know. I think we're going to end up going full circle, which is sad.
And by full circle, you mean,
Revolution,
yeah, a civil war?
civil war.
Absolutely. I think we have much more in common with each other than we give ourselves credit for, right? We have different opinions on a lot of issues, but a lot of those differing opinions come from the same place in our heart, right? We all want the same thing. That just might look like different things for different people.
I think so. I think we were able to do so in the past, and I think we should be able to do so now. And I do think there are people with opposing political views who are able to find common ground, but unfortunately, I think that the majority do not. But I hope that we can find that again.
What do you think the future of the United States is going to look like in 10 or 20 years?
If we don't make a major change, we're not going to be anything that's. I don't recognize us now. So I'm certainly not going to recognize us in 20 years.
It could go either way. Yeah, in 10 years, if it goes the way it's going now, yeah, we would be, if we wouldn't recognize it.
I think the United States in 10 or 20 years will look like a place that has more love and more equality in it. I think that is the next step that we need to take as a country, and I see that happening today. I think having more love and respect for each other, no matter what our background is or where we come from, is the most important thing that we could be focusing on right now.
If we stay on this trajectory, we won't be anything close to what we were. We won't have, you and I won't even be able to have this conversation in 10 or 20 years if we continue on this trajectory. When you talk about freedom of the press, the fact of what you're doing right here, one of the great principles of this whole democracy was the ability for people to go out and say and be able to criticize the government. We're seeing people jailed for things of that sort. We're seeing people, their rights, their privileges, their money, their where they live and where they're at, and having radical people come in and dox them, as they say, or whatever. You're seeing all sorts of events that are so counterproductive to everything that we believe in and we were established on to become.
I have hopes. Like, I hope we address our impacts on the environment and maybe coalesce around something like that has positive change. But the realities, I really can't speak to what that will look like.
If there was one president that you could add to Mount Rushmore, who do you think it would be?
Donald Trump.
You think so?
I think they have 4 great people up there, and they're 4 individuals who faced extraordinary circumstances in their own day. Benjamin Franklin, I think, would be a good head to add up there. I think he was an amazing man. I think there's any number of the original founding fathers that could be up there. Benjamin Rush would be one. I would say Noah Webster would be a good one. There's any number, but I do like Trump, and I know that's probably, a lot of people say Trump, but there's so many people in our history that we could add up there. Rush Limbaugh, I would say him.
I would add Barack Obama, but I would also like to see a woman on there, so.
Michelle Obama?
Michelle Obama, yeah, there you go.
I would say Reagan, and I'd say Reagan only because I think that was a president at a watershed of free enterprise, freedom, private property, and I think he could be a model for recent past presidents or future presidents in regards to how he dealt with exercising power in an appropriate way.
I think Eisenhower would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why Eisenhower?
Dude, that's the first president I could think of on the spot.
That's funny.